Yellow. Long time no see. If you're wondering where I've been, university is a lot. I started this in summer of 2024. Yeah, summer of 2024. And the Freddy Got Fingered video came out in October, I believe, of that year. And that was just when I started uni, so I kind of took it a bit too easy. Life was all sunshine and roses back then, but 1.5 years into uni, I just had little to no time to make more videos. But today it's gonna be a little bit different, much more casual. I don't even have a script here. I just had some notes took down, some notes written down, and I want to tell you about a dream that I had tonight, which was insane, like literally insane from start to finish. It's one of the weirdest dreams I've ever had in my life, but I found it like very, very interesting and reason enough to make this and to analyze it. Back in high school, at the end of high school, I did my finals in psychology and philosophy, and there was a lot of dream reading in it, so that kind of made me learn how to analyze dreams and what everything means, or everything could mean. There's no one set thing that a thing could mean in a dream, and you don't have to like take my word for some sort of preacher or something like that. But yeah, I think we're just gonna go straight into what I dreamt. And it started out alright. I was ranked first in some sort of attractiveness competition, which already tells you that this was a dream, because this would never happen in real life. And then I asked out a girl and she said yes, but then she promptly left the dream and she never came back. Then I walked through the streets with a couple of friends, and another friend comes from the other way and we slap hands, and this happens twice. This guy, this friend, was a twin of my actual friend, and it's a friend that doesn't even have a twin in real life. But then they interacted with two friends that I actually have that are twins. So we got twins of twins. We then went on to watch some sort of opera or theater thing, but the dream didn't get to enter that interior. Instead, there was a short moment where I was writing something in what looked like some sort of Italian restaurant in the corner. Anyways, we leave the thing and we start to walk home, but I suddenly walk slower and I can't keep up with my friends. I can see my parents in the distance in like silhouette form, and then they wave at me, then I don't see them again. They kind of vanish into the ether at this point. Then, while I still struggle to catch up to my friends, a woman, a mysterious woman, and a guy I've never seen before approach me on one side each. So one left, one right. I don't remember what they told me, but the gist of it was that I had to publish some kind of writing that I don't want to do and will never do, but if I don't do that, they will punish me somehow. They also have somehow installed a screen recorder on my laptop, and always someone looking around for me. Why exactly it has to be me that has to write this, I don't know. That's kind of like a Kafka setup there. But these two act like they know me and are part of some kind of cult or something. Let's just call it a cult. And this last part of being chased by a cult I dreamt before. They disappear and I'm up at my friends again. We walk through the city, but there's police officers with guns out trying to arrest a guy who waves his gun around in public, and this happens again later. Bunch of alert policemen basically that try to do something but don't really do anything. So like actual police. Then me and my friends go our separate ways and I go home, but not to my current home, to my old apartment. I don't enter it though, because a black cat chases me and jumps at me and bites into my hand, with a lock so tight it can't be removed. and I actually felt pain here in the dream. Then a lot more stuff happens. It repeats a lot of what already happened before. And then I finally enter my real home, and then the mother of the girl from the beginning of the dream is there. It was pleasant at first, but then suddenly she just had some sort of leather fetish costume on, and I told her to leave. She didn't oblige. We screamed at each other, and I told her to fuck off, which she took personally. Then my real dog was there, and I was petting it, so that I saw only its back. I was petting my real dog. When it turned around, it morphed into the black cat and bit in my hand again. This time even harder, and then I had a knife, and when I tried to stab it with the knife, then it bit even harder. And then I was transported to the entrance to my home again, and I kid you not, I saw emojis floating in space. I don't remember exactly which, but I'm pretty certain they were the devil emoji, the acting masks emoji, and the angel emoji. And I walked up the stairs, up to my apartment, thinking it was only a dream. And then some disembodied voice told me about chakras, and that I specifically should focus on the yellow chakra. I entered my apartment again, waringly, and who do I see but the mother of the girl once again, trying to attack me. I think she chokeslammed me, which I swear is nothing sexual. But as she did, I was lying in my bed with 2 other people under my covers. I tried to hit one of them, but nothing was there. Then the disembodied voice told me, "You know who the other one is." Then I looked up to the ceiling, and a silhouetted person was jumping down on me. And in that moment I woke up for real. Somehow in the same position, to look up at that specific part of the ceiling and seeing that person disappear as I transitioned back to the land of the awoken. When I started thinking about this dream, one thing became really clear to me pretty quickly. It's driven by 3 forces that keep repeating over and over. 1, validation turning into abandonment. 2, agency turning into coercion. And 3, safety turning into betrayal. Those cycles repeat constantly, and that's why the dream keeps looping and escalating instead of resolving. Just that pattern alone already says a lot, I think. It starts with validation. I'm ranked first in this attractiveness competition. I ask the girl out, she says yes, and then she immediately disappears. That's like classic wish fulfillment followed by withdrawal, and my brain gives me like social confirmation, desirability, success, all that jazz, and then just as quickly takes it away. Not really as punishment, I don't think. It's more like my brain doesn't trust that kind of validation to last. Then there's the walking. I'm with my friends, everything feels normal, and at some point I can't keep up with them. And I think that detail matters. It's not about being left behind, it's about being out of sync. I can still see them, they're just further ahead. And before I go any further, it probably helps to quickly explain a few of the concepts I'm using here, because none of this is common knowledge unless you've gone out of your way to read psychology and philosophy. First, the id, ego, and superego. This comes from Freud, but we don't really go into Freud that much because he's a talentless hack, and we use the Carl Jung version of the id, ego, and superego. So the id is the raw part of you, like instincts, impulse, desire, fear, aggression, like all of these very pointed and strong emotions that usually come with some sort of negative thing. It doesn't care about consequences or morality, it just wants what it wants when it wants it. The ego is the part that deals with reality. It negotiates between what you want and what's possible and what's allowed. When you say, I think, I am this or that, you're talking about the ego. And then the superego is internalized authority, like rules, ideals, expectations, shame. It's basically the voice of parents maybe, or society culture which is living inside your head. When it's healthy, it gives you structure. When it turns hostile, it brings with itself a lot of self-doubt. So in very simple terms, the id wants, the ego navigates, and the superego judges. Now, Jung's shadow overlaps with this but isn't the same thing. The shadow is everything about yourself that you don't want to see, don't want to admit, or were taught not to be. That can include aggression, selfishness, sexuality maybe, envy, but also positive things like confidence, assertiveness, creativity, if those were discouraged. And the important thing is the shadow isn't evil, it's just the unintegrated part of your soul, basically. And Jung's big warning was that whatever you repress doesn't disappear, it comes back sideways. In dreams, in projections, compulsions maybe. And then there's the persona, which I mentioned briefly, which I think is also from Jung, but I'm not entirely sure. But that's basically the mask you wear for the world. Your role that you play, your presentation, the version of yourself that's like socially legible. The one that you show to other people, not how you are behind closed doors. You need it to function, but if you over-identify with it, you lose contact with the rest of yourself. Now, chakras, this might be a bit weird for that to be in the dream, especially like for me, because I don't know chakras. I don't study chakras, but of course I've heard the term before. So chakras come from Eastern traditions, from Hinduism, and they're basically a map that connects psychological themes to areas of the body. Think of them as like metaphors, not mysticism or mystical facts or something like that. And the yellow chakra, the one that's mentioned in the dream, get this is traditionally associated with personal power, agency, confidence, and self-definition. Like, this is what Google AI told me, so take that with a pinch of salt. But the yellow chakra sits in the solar plexus. It's located in the upper abdomen, which also happens to be where people feel anxiety, fear, stress, like gut feelings, knots in your stomach. And in my personal experience, legitimate knots in my stomach, like I probably need surgery for that pretty soon. So the fact that this appears in my dream without knowing which chakras represent what, that's kind of eerie, don't you think? So the psyche uses like whatever symbolic language it has available, doesn't care if you're a believer or not, it's just a communication method. So when you hear terms like id, shadow, chakra in this analysis, none of them mean like a destiny or a prophecy. Dreams aren't instructions for how to live your life. I think they're more like status reports, basically. But getting back to the dream, we'll focus on the cult that confronts me. That's like probably internalized pressure personified. They act like they know me, but they can't explain why it has to be me, and the punishment is vague, surveillance is implied, and that's the superego turning hostile. It's kind of a figure shows up when someone feels a responsibility to express something, but deeply resists being forced into exposure. The writing in this case isn't creativity, it's forced revelation. It's the mind asking, what if expression isn't freedom? And more like a coercion. Then my parents, as silhouettes in the distance, they wave and then they're gone. Separation, a healthy separation. It's distance to them, but not conflict. That usually shows up when parents stop being external authorities and become internal archetypes instead. So they're no longer a dominant force in your life, but they're still part as orientation, but not in a controlling sense. One thing about the two people that come up to me, I wouldn't call them evil, of course, but I would call them shadow agents, which I find very cool. Like parts of the psyche that demand conformity and dress it up as like destiny, or force you to do something, or else something will happen. And the key detail is that they can't justify themselves. The shadow doesn't argue rationally, but it forces itself to you through obligation without explanation. And authority shows up again later with armed police. Again, no one actually hurts anyone. It's a threat without resolution, which keeps the nervous system on edge. so kind of like a filler scene, a transitional scene, so to speak, where my nervous system has to stay high from point A to point B, kind of. And Jung would call this the Xanax archetype, not the transition, but the police. And the Xanax is order and law, but unbalanced. They're not like enforcing justice, they're just enforcing tension, again, like the normal police. And then there's the black cat, which is easily like the core symbol of the entire dream. The cat attacks when I try to go back to a place of safety, or where safety should be. And then it replaces my dog, something I trust. And the harder I try to fight it, even trying to kill it, the harder it bites. This is a suppressed instinct that escalates when you try to dominate it violently. The fact that I actually felt pain fits with a rapid eye movement intrusion. This is when dreams are bleeding into the body, so the part of your brain that connects pain or any kind of feeling to your nervous system. And the cat is pure shadow. Cats symbolize independence and probably also intelligence, but most importantly a refusal to obey. Black cat specifically, black means unintegrated. That sounded way too racist than it should have been, but you know what I mean. The key point is that it guards the old home. The dream is saying that regression isn't available anymore, or it is available, but it's not encouraged. And the psyche itself enforces that. Trying to destroy the shadow only gives it more power. The mother figure is interesting, like the mother of the girl, because she brings the exact opposite that my real mother in the dream brought. Authority mixed with intrusion and kind of intimacy without consent. You could bring Freud into this, but we won't. And the girl from earlier represents a possibility and a future orientation. The mother represents a feeling of overwhelmingness and a boundary collapse. And when those merge, you get like intimacy without safety, and that's why it turns hostile, and why my anger in the dream is actually appropriate, so the dream is on my side there. And then the three emojis again, the devil, the masks, and the angel, like that symbol compression. You could go easily to id, ego, and superego, because that would make sense, but I would frame it a bit differently. The devil could represent the shadow, so like the devil, our rejected impulses, you know, and the mask is the persona, the role you perform, because that's the mask, and then the angel is the ideal self, who you think you should be, and the order matters here, shadow, persona, and ideal. So instinct arises, gets filtered through performance, and then judged against an impossible standard. And that's kind of like how many people live their life, which is very exhausting. And finally, the silhouetted figure jumping down. I find this way more interesting than it sounds, because this is like classic hypnopompic stuff, again, REM imagery bleeding into waking consciousness. And I probably, because like this sets up with the mother before, and then I instantly like lie in the bed without kind of any transition, which probably is like I already woke up, or like was in and out of drifting into sleep, or in and out of waking up basically at that point. The body position matching the dream, the figure dissolving as awareness returns, and the voice says, you know who the other one is, right? That doesn't sound to me like a threat. That's like the psyche saying, I already recognize whoever that figure may be, whatever that figure may be. And it comes down from the walls, right? Or from the ceiling. It doesn't like jump down harmfully. It doesn't come straight at me trying to eat me or whatever. It kind of descends like gracefully, like with Olympic tower jumping, whatever that is, when they jump into the water. You know what I mean? So very, very graceful dive, basically. And I would say this is the self attempting reintegration, but the ego waking up before contact, which is usually how dreams like this actually end. And so at the core, this isn't a nightmare about like danger. I don't think it could be, but it's about transition under constraint and separating from old structures and being unable to move freely and feeling pressure to define yourself before you're ready, resisting forced expression, confronting instincts you can't suppress anymore, probably. And Jung had a good line about this to end this, that sometimes the psyche is ahead of the body, or the body is ahead of the psyche, and this dream feels like both trying to resync. That sounds good to me. With that, I hope this was in any way kind of entertaining or interesting for you to listen to. And now that the semester is over, there is going to be a new video in, I want to say 2 weeks, maybe 3. It's about Dogville, and it's gonna be very cool. Stay tuned for that.
And then she said the ancient phrase.
I had another Monica Bellucci dream.